USA podcast, where we put you on the map. This is Ron Costa broadcasting live from the Mappable USA studios in Las Vegas, Nevada. And today, folks, we're all talking about crowdfunding all the time, and we had a couple of episodes in the past about portals. We're gonna kind of dive into that a little bit from a kind of a different angle to today, and in terms of all kinds of crowdfunding projects. And speaking of that, we're going to bring in Vicki Hutchmala from the WorldTokenMarket.com. Vicki, how are you today?
Well, another absolutely fabulous day in Vegas, so how could I not be anything but fabulous myself? And today we're talking to our guest today is putting a new twist on crowdfunding, so this should be an exciting podcast, and I can't wait to get started.
Exactly. So let's do it. Let's introduce Eddie Lee from PledgeCamp. Eddie is the co-founder and president of PledgeCamp. Eddie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ron. Thank you for having me. Hi, Vicki. It's really great to talk to you today.
Our pleasure,
same here.
Eddie.
Same here. So, listen, Eddie, we always talk about all these crowdfunding projects and crowdfunding functionalities and boards. I know you've created something really interesting with PledgeCamp. But before we get into that, let's talk about your background a little bit. How did you get into this whole crowdfunding, and what have you been doing before that?
Crowdfunding enabled me to really get my start with my business. About 8 years ago, my team and we launched our first crowdfunding project on Kickstarter. It was a little Bluetooth camera. You could control it with your phone, and see the picture that it sees on your phone remotely over Bluetooth. And we didn't know where to turn to. We didn't have we didn't have investors that were our personal friends. We didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars lying around for ourselves. So we turned to crowdfunding as a way to really give us our start, and it went super well. We ended up running 4 campaigns over the years, raised about $2.5 million in total, and it really kicked off our company.
Yeah, and when you say you raised all this money, you did it by in content yourself. I'm sure you did videos or whatever it was to create the interest in this whole concept that you were trying to raise money for. Is that right?
Yeah, every single crowdfunding campaign is like a whole new product launch with its own story, with its own materials, press release, marketing plan, all of that. So we did the dance a couple of times.
Yeah. It's funny. People always tell me, you go to friends and family first for the initial raise, if you have a good relationship with your friends and family. And I always say, well, I have a great relationship with my friends and family because I don't ask them for money.
That's true. And you want to get beyond that too, right? You want to make an impact on the market. Crowdfunding is really been an amazing vehicle for people that just giving them the chance that they've never had before to start a company and to reach these markets. But over the years we saw a lot of problems. We started to see some problems. So that's kind of where we are here today with PledgeCamp.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Eddie, what's the difference between Kickstarter and PledgeCamp?
The main difference, I would say, is that PledgeCamp has a greater focus on what happens after the creator basically takes your money for the campaign, right? On Kickstarter, once the fundraising period is over, all of the funds are transferred to the creator, and then the relationship is pretty much done. If there are hiccups, if there are delays, which happens, according to one professor's research, 85% of the time, the platform doesn't get involved. They don't say, you have to give them a refund. The backers really have no recourse. They just, they took the money and that's that. But on PledgeCamp, we put as much focus on what happens after you take the money as raising it in the first place. So while we don't hold the money ourselves, we use blockchain technology so that the money is held safely and given to the creator over time as they fulfill their promises. And if they don't, then the backers have some recourse to get their remaining money back.
So you are holding the creator accountable to the backers to make sure that they have a sense of this is really going to work. And if not, I get my money back because you did a bad job.
That's right. It's like, we didn't invent escrow or this business model at all, but it's something where, Kickstarter started 10 years ago, and it was a hugely successful first concept, but they didn't change their model at all since since then. And, businesses need to change. And we basically said, here's this model that works in a lot of businesses. Who are you going to give your money to? This guy is going to take 100% up front, and you don't know what's going to happen, or this other person who says, hey, here's my plan. I promise you this in 6 months. Don't pay me all the way up front. Pay me later when I deliver. And just that act of offering that kind of peace of mind will hopefully make the backer more likely to give you more money. More backers will give more money, and the crowdfunding space as a whole could grow larger.
Well, and not only that, but it makes them feel good about investing in a completely different project through PledgeCamp, because now they know that there's an accountability and their investment is relatively safe. That's
right. And you might wonder why a creator would do this. One, a very good creator would know that a happy backer is a trusting backer, is a backer that will give their money. But secondly, we also incentivize this, where Kickstarter takes 5%, and I'm singling them out a lot, but all the platforms are very similar right now. They take about 5% of all the funds that are raised for being the middleman. We start at 5%, but we will give you a discount the more money that you say is going to go into the escrow. So you can put, let's say, 10, 20, 30% of your campaign in escrow. The more that you put, the lower your fee will be. So we're basically paying creators ourselves to lower risk for the backers. So it's win-win for everybody.
Oh, wow. That's a completely different concept.
Yeah.
Kind of treating everybody fairly.
We think, this entrepreneurship is very risky, and there's going to be failures. So we can't eliminate the failures, but what we're trying to do is change the incentive model so that, the incentive model for the platforms now are list as many projects as possible, and if they get their money, irregardless of the delivery, then the success of the delivery is not within their incentives. It's not motivating them. So, and it's also not motivating the creator because we got all the money up front. So we're just trying to change the model here a little bit.
Well,
and this is what you call, on your website, you call this the backer protection program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The term you use? Yeah, okay. So this is really interesting, and this is really one of the things I haven't seen yet before, because a lot of people aren't really, when they see a project go bad, there's nothing that they can do about it. Are these backers, when they sign up to pledge initially, are there certain bullet points as far as milestones that have to be met in the contract that they can specifically point to say, hey, you know what, you didn't meet this, I want my money back?
Yeah, so the milestones in the roadmap must be set by the project creator when they launch their campaign. So this is something that's transparent for everyone to see before they raise any money. Or it's actually available to the prospective backer to see before they give their own, whether they decide to give their own money or not. So later down the road, let's say that there's some amount of money in the backer protection. The backer can say, hey man, you're behind in your delivery, you haven't given an alternate plan, you haven't instilled confidence in all of us, maybe you've even gone radio silent, then the backers can vote together. If 51% of them vote together to refund the backer protection, then the backer protection amount is split among all backers. So the vote dynamic is also interesting because sometimes delays happen, and there are good creators that are communicative, have a backup plan to fix it, that you want to continue on this journey with them, right? Entrepreneurship's hard. Stuff happens. But, again, it's really incentivizing the creator to maintain the backer's confidence, even if there's a delay, even if things go wrong. Maintaining their confidence will mean that they don't lose that vote. So it's a very democratic and fair process. And, again, it's about the incentives here. We want the creator to be present and accountable.
Yeah, from a logistic point of view, just out of logic, it would seem to me that if a creator was willing to put their project on PledgeCamp, on your website, they almost would have to have the confidence that they're going to move forward and hit these goals, because otherwise, if they knew the backers could back out based on not meeting these goals, they wouldn't list in the first place. They wouldn't even want to waste the time, I would think, right? So these projects, from a theoretical perspective, it makes like these are projects that are really, really strong, you would think, because, again, they have the confidence of listing on the site to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, there's a statistic where 85% of projects delay. It's not that 85% of project creators are bad or malicious. They simply maybe put, when you have a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter, your objective is to raise as much as possible for your company now during the 30 days that you have. And maybe your roadmap isn't completely strong yet. Maybe you don't have a crystal clear picture or a contract from your suppliers yet, but it's okay because your priority is marketing and delivery is later. But with PledgeCamp, your priority is on the delivery as much as it is on the marketing. So one, the creators incentivized to be conservative and realistic with their expectation setting. They won't say, oh, we're going to deliver in 6 months just because it sounds good to the backers and they're going to get the product soon. Maybe they'll wait a couple months to launch until they have a clear picture, or they just, aim low, set low expectations, and decide to over-deliver later. So it's another kind of incentive twist where, hey, now the more accurate and realistic you are, the better, not the more shiny promises you can make, the better.
And do they have the opportunity to adjust their timeline? So if something unexpected comes up and they can't meet a 6-month deadline, for example, can they let their backers know, blah, 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 happened, and I'm going to have to push it back, and maybe it's going to be 9 months instead? And as long as they let people know, that doesn't affect anything?
Yes, absolutely. So they can, again, it all comes down to the backer vote to take action. It's almost like you have a little light switch, every backer. You're either a yes or a no. It's not like there's a vote, this Saturday at 9 a.m. we're all going to vote. That's never going to happen because people are busy. But you have a light switch. Yes, I have confidence. No, I don't have confidence. And a 51% switch no, let's cancel this at the same time, it's over. So to maintain that confidence, yes, the creator can post updates. They can say, here, this is what happened. It's a lot of times these backers just want to feel heard. They don't want to feel abandoned. They're supporting a startup. They know it's risky. They don't care if it's 3 months or 6 months, but they really care if they feel like someone's taking advantage of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why we're trying to incentivize the creator to maintain contact and really work hard for their votes. Keep everyone on the yes side as much as possible.
Well,
there's a lot of these.
Go ahead, Rob.
There's a lot of these crowdfunding portals out there, as we talked about before, and they reference their jobs online. Their opportunities online as issuers. And you're using the term creators. Is it just interchangeable? Does it mean the same thing?
I think when I refer to creators, project creators, I'm referring to mostly product-based or rewards-based crowdfunding. These are non-equity raises and mostly purchasing of a product, of pre-sales. I think issuers applies more to equity crowdfunding or real estate crowdfunding, things like that, which is not our focus at the beginning.
Right. This is not an equity play. This is okay. All right. So that's the way backers can get their money back easily, then, rather than having to deal with shares in a company and selling the shares on a secondary market or something like that. That makes it easier and makes it a little bit more clearer how they can get their money back if they don't like the way it's progressing.
Yeah, that's right. It's still just cash.
All right. So do these backers have to be accredited at all, or could they be anybody?
No, they don't have to be accredited. They're purchasing a product, like I mentioned, so there's no investment involved.
Oh, okay. So that opens it up to just about anybody who finds some kind of relatability to whatever the product is that the creator is trying to produce.
Yeah, it's these backers, want to see, are usually product lovers, early adopters, tech lovers. They want to see these things out in the world. And a lot of times these creators don't have any other options. So crowdfunding has really been an amazing opportunity to make these products possible. Even, VR headsets, the Oculus got started on Kickstarter, and then, a couple of years later they're acquired by Facebook. So I think crowdfunding has an important place in the world, but part of the problems we've seen are how many failures there are, how many delays, how many bad outcomes. Less than 30% of Kickstarter's backers ever come back for a second project, and that's statistics that they publish themselves. And we think that, for crowdfunding to be really successful, these backers need to keep coming back and having good outcomes. So that's why we were inspired to start this platform.
Well, and you've relatively solved that problem through accountability, and so that backers know that the creators are on top of it, and they're not just interested in taking their money to do whatever they want. They're actually going to promote their own product and stay on top of making it a reality, and that makes investing easier and more secure.
Absolutely.
So you've solved that problem that Kickstarter doesn't evidently care about.
Yeah, we hope that there never will have to be a refund of the backer protection. And we hope that just telling creators, hey, before you list, you better put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
We hope that is enough to really change things.
Right, because they know that they're accountable.
Right.
So, Eddie, let me ask you a question. Obviously, you think blockchain is the future. So why did you decide to put PledgeCamp on a blockchain platform?
I would say first, blockchain is this amazing new technology that we've never had before, but I think it should be limited to very specific use cases where it does very well. And some of the things it does very well are track financial transactions. But that's basically what Bitcoin does. All it does is know how much Bitcoin you have. It doesn't get too complicated beyond that. So I want to first assure people that you don't need to be an advanced blockchain person to understand PledgeCamp. You don't even really need to understand it, but just understand what it does for the underlying technology. The reason we use it is because escrow is, I'm sure you know, a very difficult and complicated procedure. You have contracts, meaning possibly lawyers. You need a custodian. There's costs there. There's risks there. You also need mediators when you're divvying it up one way or the other. Blockchain eliminates a lot of this, actually all of this, because the custodian is the blockchain itself. Just like a Bitcoin, you have this ledger that everyone shares of how much Bitcoin everyone has. It's the same with this money. Everyone knows where the backer protection money is. And the way, like I mentioned, it's determined where it goes is by that backer vote. 51% of the backer vote. So it's not up to us as the platform. We don't hold this money. The creator doesn't hold this money. We don't say, hey, look, the creator's a friend of a friend. We're going to give him the backer protection because we trust him or her. It's not like that. It's purely democratic and software-based, and that's where blockchain really excels. So that's why we use it.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. So now for backers, when they come onto the website, it's just pretty easy, I would imagine. You just create an account, right? You log in, you create your account, you log in, and then you can see whatever projects are listed on the site. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And I'd like to take the moment to mention that we were going to launch commercial crowdfunding projects this year, but everyone's been impacted by COVID-19. We kind of sat back and thought, we have this platform. We have, like I mentioned, many years of sourcing and manufacturing in China. We decided to put that together and launch the first project ourselves. So this project is currently live. What it is we are raising donations to deliver PPE, medical supplies, to frontline healthcare workers, where 100% of the proceeds will go to frontline workers in the form of PPE. And this project is purely just donation-based, and it's just our first proof of concept, and we're trying to do our small part.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, that's
very nice.
That's great. So,
well,
okay.
And it's very strategic too, Eddie, because the atmosphere now is people want to do this, people want to donate, and they recognize the issue, the problem, and all the aspects of it. So by launching this, you've allowed yourself to test the process, to see how it works, but still give people who are donating that satisfaction that they've helped the world.
Yes, exactly. We're testing out, working out the bugs a little bit. It's working well now, so I'm pleased about that. Some of the things that distinguish ours, in the interest of PledgeCamp's transparency and accountability, we publish all of our PPE costs up front on the page, which I've seen a lot of other GoFundMes, and I haven't seen anyone that does that. And we also guarantee 100% backer protection. If the PPE doesn't get there, no one will be charged. Everyone will have their money back.
Excellent.
Yeah. This backer protection is something I haven't seen yet on any of these crowdfunding sites, and it really sets you apart from everybody else, especially Kickstarter. It's like Kickstarter with on steroids type of thing. But what about for these creator guys when they come to you and they want to list their project on the website? Do they have to go through some kind of a vetting process with you, or how do they get started?
We offer optional KYC for them to get started, where they'll do it automated themselves through a provider, and it's just another, point to show their trustworthiness to the backers. It's not something that we require. We think ultimately we just incentivize as much transparency and security as possible, but it's really up to backers to vet and make their own minds. But we offer that feature for the creators to kind of get the little verified check mark next to their name if they want it.
Yeah,
well, it adds credibility to them.
Yeah, no, it does. And they provide you with all the information. How long does it take for creators to submit their deal until they see it live on the website?
Well, at this early stage, we're requiring creators to go through us, but in the long run, we want this to be very decentralized, where they can just click, step 1, step 2, all the way to 10, however long it takes, and be set up in a day if they have all their materials.
Yeah, that's nice. Is the KYC being done on blockchain as well?
No, the KYC is done. They're uploading it to just a third-party KYC provider. That's not our specialty.
Okay.
Because I was going to ask you if all the processes of getting onto PledgeCamp and through the blockchain and everything, if you do all of that in-house, but some of the services you outsource to third parties.
Yes, that's right. I think KYC is probably the major one that I can think of.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So when these creators put a project on the website, and do they start off with 0%? $0 raised for the thing, or can they say, hey, we already raised $10,000 from friends and family to make it look like that it's a popular project like Kickstarter does?
No, they would have to have their friends and family go through PledgeCamp right when they launch.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good thing, because I read an article a while back about how there's so many projects on Kickstarter that fail because unless you get started with people who are interested in it to begin with, it's not going to work out. People think a lot of times, I'm going to raise all this money from zero, and they put their project on there, zero raised, and nobody wants it because no one's in there yet.
Exactly. Typically, you raise about 30% of what you'll raise for your entire life of your campaign in that first day.
Yeah, and I've heard that if you don't do the 30% at the start, you might as well just forget about the whole thing, because the failure rate on that is unbelievably high. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And that's the advantage to having your friends and family invest in you through PledgeCamp, because it lets everybody else, every other investor, see that people are interested. They don't need to know that they're your friends and family. They just need to see there's money there.
Right, that's right. And from our experience, having done this many times and consulting a lot of projects, many people also make the mistake of thinking you're going to do your marketing during the campaign, but you really have to do the majority of it up front. The ideal situation, if you had 2 months, if you had 3 months, that would be ideal to raise an email list, start running ads, collecting emails, going to in-person events, maybe when all this COVID-19 is over. But really have a large fan base. So on day one, you blast them with an email. You let them all know, hey, guys, everything you've been waiting for is launched today. And get your friends, families, and your fans to really support you on day one, not just waiting until during the campaign.
Well, and that's only logical, too, because if you have set a time frame and say my project will be ready in 6 months, but you have to wait 3 or 4 months before you can convince people to invest in it, then you've taken that timeline and made it 10 months instead because you haven't done anything ahead of time, and that's going to affect how investors look at you and say, well, you didn't even market it before you asked me for money. How do I know anybody cares about it? So it's really just a logical step that you pre-market before you go to PledgeCamp because you got the ball rolling.
Yes, absolutely. I'd say, not to throw out a meaningless number, but like 80-90% of your marketing work is done up front. And I say that just to emphasize how important it is to do it up front and not during.
Well, yeah, because if you have no response from pre-marketing, how do you know anybody's going to want your project? Even if you have the money to make it and nobody wants to buy it, what good does it do?
That's right.
Nobody's going to care about it.
Yeah, we see that mistake happening all the time.
Yeah. And Eddie, I've gone through your website, PledgeCamp.com, a number of times, and you guys did a great job on this. The functionality is there, and with the blockchain integration, et cetera. Did you guys do any fundraising for yourself to get this thing going? Because I'm sure this was a kind of an expensive venture to get to this point.
Yeah, did you go to PledgeCamp first, Eddie?
Right, the chicken and eggs thing. No, we were able to lean on our business contacts from before. We raised a relatively hefty round about 2 years ago. We actually sold tokens, sort of investment in the platform itself to accredited investors, non-U.S. investors.
That's awesome. Yep, yeah, that's how you get, you just parlay it and you keep going. That's why crowdfunding is great, because you can crowdfund a crowdfund deal. I love it.
Exactly, we crowdfunded to crowdfund.
Yeah.
So how long has PledgeCamp been up and running, Eddie?
A little over 2 years now, but our same team has been together for almost 8 years.
How many projects do you have on the site?
Right now, we just have that PPE donation campaign, but once that's over, we plan to gauge the market a little bit, but I think we can forge ahead soon with the regular projects. We estimate to launch in the very beginning with a handful of projects just to keep it under control and grow from there.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to be inundated.
Right. And if anyone's listening to the podcast that wants to get involved on that from a backer end of it, they can still go to the website and log in, register their account so that when you have these things ready, they can go on. I'm sure you'll shoot them all an email as projects come on board, right?
Yes, absolutely. And like you mentioned, the website's just PledgeCamp.com. If anyone has, the next $1 million idea and just didn't know where to get started, you can also ask me about becoming a creator and listing a new project. We're always on the lookout for high-quality creators.
I'm trying to develop a coronavirus vaccine. How's that sound?
Yeah, good luck. We're all rooting for you.
Yeah, there you go. But speaking of that, what do you see as far as the impact of this coronavirus in terms of crowdfunding? Do you see it kind of slowing down, or do you see any kind of things good or bad?
It remains to be seen. I've seen some research done showing that the numbers are not impacted, but that was by a company in the crowdfunding space. So just like any other news that comes out, you got to see who's saying it and why, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And from a real world perspective, we just did a podcast before where one of these guys was telling me that they were doing some tremendous deals within this whole period of time. So I don't know. I think if you want to do the deals, you could still do them, and it's not all gloom and doom all the time.
No, I think people need to, to some extent, while being safe, things need to continue going. So I think people are still looking to invest, looking to support creators that they believe in. If you have a compelling story and connect with someone, that's really the only thing that matters.
Yeah,
well,
I agree.
More people have more time to think about these kinds of things, so they can go through and search through and find out what to invest in, because it's just the atmosphere is right. And even if businesses are having difficulties because of the virus, they can always recreate themselves. They can always adapt and do something different, and need investors, and investors need to put their money someplace.
Yeah, I think consumers, after all this is said and done, will have a heightened sensitivity towards authentic businesses. You see a lot of consumer backlash against the companies that maybe didn't treat their employees well at the onset of this, or we're sending those kind of fluff emails without substance, and so people are starting to maybe have the, initially they just cared about what the business would do for them, but now I think people have the luxury to start thinking about what the business is doing for the world or for their communities. So I think you'll see a lot of companies that, if they are genuine and can maintain some authenticity, they will be the ones to place your bets on.
Exactly, because people are developing a new mindset in terms of everything, including their own life and their purpose, and that they're evolving. I like to hope that they're evolving to a better place, be it a business or an investor or just an individual. That even though the coronavirus is is a bad thing, in a way it's a good thing, because it's changing the mindset and it's changing the world to a certain extent.
Yes, I totally agree. These days, if I could step back and not talk about PledgeCamp for a second, these days I've been watching some podcasts or videos from Dr. Laurie Santos, who runs a class at Yale about the study of happiness. And she was mentioning that, like you're saying, this is a really good time, not just for businesses to reinvent themselves, but for people too. There's no precedent for all of this stress and the quarantine, stay at home, all this kind of stuff in people's lives. Maybe this is a very good time to kind of trick your mind or hack your mind into starting a new normal and a new habit, maybe working out, maybe waking up and talking about something you're grateful for in your mind. I think the way the coronavirus has impacted businesses is that, it's also a very human impact, our team, our morale. It's very important that we all take care of ourselves during this time as well.
And take care of each other. It's, I tell myself that God did this on purpose so that everybody can take a serious look at themselves, look in the mirror and see what's wrong with you and how you need to become better, and to notice all the things that you thought you needed but you really didn't, and all the things you didn't think about are what's really important.
Yeah, we all need a little bit of that.
Yes, we sure do. We sure do. Before we close this out, Eddie, I got one more question for you. As far as getting the word out on this is all new. This is original. I love what you're doing as far as the originality on this is concerned. You guys have a blog on your website too, and I noticed that you guys are writing articles for what? For Medium? Is that right?
Yeah.
Medium.com? Yeah, that is really interesting, because I'm of the opinion that content is king as far as these article marketing and video, et cetera. So I think you're doing it the right way in terms of getting out. Are you seeing a good response out of the media articles that you're writing?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm someone who is happy to talk about PledgeCamp all day, every day, if people listen. But
yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, you just got to put the content out there and let people come to it on their own time. So it lets us dive in deeper into some of these concepts.
See, before coronavirus, you never want to get stuck behind you in a line at Starbucks, because all you'll be talking about is PledgeCamp, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But anyway, this is really good information, Eddie. I really like it. If someone is more interested in finding out more data or how to get involved in this in a better way, how would they get in touch with you? Email, phone, website, or what do you think?
Email is the best. My email is eddie@pledgecamp.com. That's EDDIE. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions about, crowdfunding tips if you have a project, or just the market or PledgeCamp, or really anything. I'm here.
Yeah, and Vicki, as far as a backer protection program for crowdfunding, did you ever see anything like this before?
Never. And I have to say, Eddie, Ron and I love people like you who are innovators and creators and jump out and take a risk. And what you're doing with PledgeCamp by accountability for your creators and security for your investors is just phenomenal. And you should be commended in what you're doing. It's very, very good.
Thank you, Vicki. It's very nice to hear that every once in a while. It really keeps us going.
All right. Again, Eddie, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Vicki, thanks for co-hosting the show. And everyone out there, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast at mappableusa.com. If you go to that website, scroll down the homepage, you'll see all our syndication sources. Pick the one you like best so you'll never miss another episode. If you like what you heard today, send us an email, info@mappableusa.com. Tell us we're great or whatever. Or you can comment on the page that you're listening to this podcast on right now. Do that for us. And lastly, if you want to be a guest on the show, there's a guest tab on the top of the page on the website. Just fill that out. We'll see what we can do about getting you on the show. So once again, everyone, thank you for your support. Thanks for listening. We'll be at you next week on another Mappable USA podcast. Have a great week, everyone.